What is up, everybody? Welcome to Apex Bonsai. I'm Dylan, and today I'm going to be talking about things that I wish that I would have known when I got my first bonsai. And you're actually looking at my first bonsai right here. This is a Juniper that I got, and it's had a rough life. I have made a lot of mistakes with this tree, and you can see that it's not looking real great. It's alive. That's about all you can say about it. But I'm going to be passing on what I've learned to you. So hopefully your first tree will get off to a better start than mine did, and you can learn from my mistakes. Now, a couple things I want to mention in the beginning here is I've only been doing bonsai for about 8 months, so I'm by no means an expert. But since I've started, I've learned a lot, and I've been trying to learn and get as much information as I can, and this is all still really fresh in my mind. So I think I can pass what I've learned on to you and tell you the mistakes that I made, and I think it can be beneficial to you. The other thing I'll say is that if you're enjoying this content, make sure you like the video and subscribe. We're just getting started on this channel, so that really helps a lot, and it means a lot whenever you support the channel that way. So again, like and subscribe, greatly appreciated. All right, so the number one thing that I wish I would have known whenever I got this tree, that would have saved me a lot of pain, is the concept of developing a tree versus refining a tree. And that's probably been like the biggest eye-opening moment for me early on in doing research and learning about bonsai and getting addicted and wanting to learn everything I can. Whenever I started understanding the differences between developing a tree and refining a tree, it really opened my eyes and made me realize the mistakes that I made with this tree. So the story with this tree is that it was in November, and I was on my way to go get a Christmas tree, and I saw a guy on the side of the road selling bonsais. So I stopped and I got one. I've always thought bonsai was cool. Watched Karate Kid whenever I was younger and thought that it would be fun to give it a try. So first thing I do is I bring this home. It wasn't in this pot, it was in an even smaller pot. And it didn't look like this either. I warned that to come. First thing I do is I get home, I do some research, and I order some bonsai tools off of Amazon. And as soon as they come in, I just get the scissors out and I'm cutting, and I'm just messing with the tree and just really butchering it. I didn't know why I was cutting it. I just thought that's what you do with bonsai, is that you get your scissors out and you make everything nice and neat, and had no idea what I was doing. I was just doing bonsai, I guess. Another thing is I took it out of that pot and put it in a different pot. I wanted to do basically everything all the research that I did on things that you do with your bonsai tree, I wanted to do them all like right then. And I thought that the bonsai tree was there to like entertain me, like it was a toy that I needed to come home and play with every day and have a new activity to do with. Theoretically, all that stuff you do with bonsai trees, but the biggest thing that I needed to understand at the time is that this is a very young juniper, and this tree is nowhere near as big as I want it to be. So that means that this tree is in development. And when a tree's in development, I don't need to be cutting it up and all that stuff. What I need to be doing is really just letting it grow and making sure that I'm keeping it alive, I'm giving it fertilizer, and that I'm doing everything I can to allow it to grow as fast as possible. And I think number one thing is that you want to get them out of these little bonsai pots and get them into bigger pots or planters or whatever you have that you can give it more space to grow out. Now, this isn't too small of a pot. This is a really small tree, so it's got room in here, but something like this is much better and really just a perfect representation of what I've learned from the mistakes here. This is the first bonsai I got, and I got this one later down the road whenever I learned from the mistakes here. I bought this, and believe it or not, this, whenever I bought it, wasn't much bigger than this. A little bit, but not much. But with this one, I got it out of its small little pot. I got it into a much bigger pot with good soil. I am, shaping it how I want it, and I'm really just letting it grow and making sure I keep it alive. And it's got a lot of new growth here. It's shaping up well. It's gonna be, having some interesting curves to it. That's all good. This is developing a tree. This tree, I set it back probably a year by just messing with it and doing unnecessary things. And I'll probably have to get it out of this pot next year and get it into a bigger pot like this in order to really let it grow and do well. So that's number one thing, development versus refinement. Now, if you look at this tree and you say, yes, that is the size of tree that I want. Maybe you're doing Shohin, whatever. then maybe you can say, okay, this tree's in refinement for me. And now you're focusing on ramification, you're focusing on wiring and all that stuff. But for me, I like the bigger trees. Whenever I look at the inspiration for junipers, I'm looking at the trees that I like are much bigger than this. So yeah, I'm developing, really most of my trees are in development. And you know, what I like about developing a tree is that it gives you a chance to really focus on just keeping the tree alive, just watering it. And then you have a chance to study design of bonsai and get inspirations, things that you like, things that you don't like, designs that that really catch your eye. And you know, I'm doing all that right now. So yeah, biggest concept I can pass on, if you only take one thing from this video, is understand development and what is good and how to develop a tree versus what refinement is, and treat your tree accordingly to where it's at as far as what you want. All right, second thing that I wish I would have known. One bonsai is no bonsai. And this might be debatable for some people out there. I have heard some people say that when you start out in bonsai, you should get one tree, just focus on that, not get overwhelmed by multiple trees. But you know, I kind of go back to what I said. I thought that the tree was there to entertain me and like a toy that I needed to play with. So you know, only having one tree, this took the brunt of all of my energy, and I chopped it up pretty good. And you know, if I had multiple trees at that time, maybe I would have chopped them all up. So that's one way of looking at it. But I guess what I'm saying is that, you know, you're not gonna, if you only have one tree, you're gonna be pretty bored with bonsai. You know, you'll come out and water it and that's about it. But when you start getting multiple trees, you can figure out what species you like. You'll have, you know, days where, you know, even when you're in development, you might have something growing where you can cut it off and you can plant it and try to grow a cutting, which can be fun. You know, that's a lesson in itself. The more trees you have, the more stuff you have to do, the more you get to take part in your hobby of bonsai, and that's been fun for me. So I would say if your budget allows it, go out and get 3 or 4 trees, you know, and just, you know, do the research on the different species. Focus on keeping them alive, be patient with them, and I think you'll have more satisfaction that way than just one tree. All right, the next thing I wish I would have known in the beginning is that good soil makes everything easier with your bonsai. And there's a lot of debate about what the best soil is. I'm not even gonna get into that. So let me rephrase that a little bit. A well-draining soil makes everything easier in bonsai, and particularly when it comes to watering. It might sound strange, but honestly, watering can be difficult if you are using a lot of organics in your soil, a lot of, you know, potting soil. If your tree's in a potting soil, it can be tough to know how much water is enough. Are you overwatering? Are you underwatering? It can be really difficult. But if you have a well-draining soil, you basically take overwatering out of the equation. And I don't want to, you know, say 100%. I'm sure it's possible to overwater your tree no matter what. But whenever I have the trees that I have in a well-draining soil, I water every day, and I see the water drain out. At least in the summer, I water every day. I see the water draining out. Whenever it gets to capacity, I feel confident that that is, you know, that's not going to damage the tree, that the roots aren't going to get waterlogged there because that water is coming out. The trees that I have in a more organic soil, I have to be a lot more careful with, and it's a lot more of a learning experience of, you know, when do I water, when do I not? I can't really water every day, and I enjoy watering. It's the time that I get to spend with the trees. It's time I get to take part in the hobby that I'm really enjoying right now. So I like watering every day. Good soil allows me to do that and not hurt the trees. All right, next thing I wish I would have known in the beginning is just patience. That is the biggest thing that bonsai is teaching me, is to be patient. It's not gonna happen fast. It's gonna be years before this tree right here is even close to what I want it to be. But I think that's also kind of exciting. A lot of people in the beginning are like me, that they think that the tree is there to entertain them and that it's something they need to actively, you know, participate with and do things to. When in reality, if your tree's in development, you keep it alive and you be patient. I think most of us beginners probably err on the side of doing too much to our trees when they just need to be left alone and allowed to grow and settle in. So just be patient. Okay, along those lines, another thing I wish I would have known in the beginning is that if you're doing something to your tree, you need to ask why, first of all. If you're repotting, are you repotting just because you read that's what you're supposed to do and that's something you do in bonsai and it seems fun? Or is your tree suffering? Is your tree root bound? Is there a reason why you are repotting other than just boredom, okay? So I think that's true to be asking that anytime you're messing with your tree. Second would be, if you are doing something to your tree, do the research and find out if you're doing it at the right time of the year. There is a better time of year to repot. For many trees, there's a better time of year to prune. And just some simple Google searches or YouTube searches will give you those answers a lot of the time. And if you're doing stuff at the wrong time of the year, you can really risk killing your tree or just setting it back. And a simple Google search could have saved you a lot of pain there. So if you're doing something to your tree, first of all, why are you doing it? Second, are you doing it at the right time of year? And it can be different for where you live as well. Make sure you're looking for information in your growing zone, or at least close to your growing zone, to try to make sure you're getting as accurate as information as possible. All right, last thing I wish I would have known in the beginning is how addictive it is. I went from this one tree, buying it on the side of the road, to having, I think I have 13 or 14 trees now. My entire upstairs balcony is filled with them, and I'm loving it. It's so much fun, and I'm enjoying learning. I'm enjoying making videos about it. I'm enjoying doing it with my son. He's having fun with it as well, and overall, it's my favorite part of the day. Most days is going out and watering, or just, checking out the trees, studying them, and thinking about what I want to do with them or how I want them to develop. I'm just enjoying it so much. So be careful. If this is your first tree, you might be like me and have 10, 12, 15 in no time. It is addictive. So with that said, I'm gonna wrap this up. Again, if you enjoyed it, please make sure you like and subscribe. I'm having a ton of fun with this channel and hope you are too. If you are, hopefully I will see you on the next one, and have fun.